Ready?
He's
Your headphones aren't on.
He's not ready. You have the joke ready?
No, I'm looking up cars. Rob, you tell a joke this time.
I don't have one.
How do you not have one?
Because it's your job.
Apparently it is.
What kind of car would a baby sheep drive?
What?
A Lamborghini.
Oh,
There you go. Welcome to Untitled Car Project.
Hello.
Show 61. I'm Rob Spring.
I'm Grant Gonzalez.
Jeremy Molt.
Today on the show, we're going to talk about car projects.
Woo.
And it's all car projects all day long. But before we get to that, hit follow, hit like, share it with your friends.
I'm sending you an email to share with you.
Even the ones you don't like.
Rob, I'm still going to share with you.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, yeah, today on the show, let's talk about some project cars for sale. We're going to touch on our project builds. We're going to do a little halfway check-in, and it turns out Grant hasn't done any of it yet.
Well,
no, I'm not making fun because, shoot, I missed one completely.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have time to do. So we've been busy. We took some time off. We went and raced cars. We built some other stuff. Speaking of, Grant, you've been helping somebody work on their car. Let's touch on that.
yeah. So recently we've been working on Antonio's car at the it's autocross.
Tell us what Antonio drives.
So for our newer listeners, Antonio's a really good friend of mine, and he drives a 1999 Ford Mustang with a 4.0 or 3.8 liter V6 5-speed manual.
Yep.
We are talking about as basic you can get. No ABS,
Right.
no track control. It does have power steering, which was a pain in the ass.
Sure. Now, we've talked about this car and the potential that the car has and the kind of things that he should do to make it competitive, quote-unquote competitive. Now, he bought the car just to autocross it, something that he can build into. No, well quote-unquote.
Grow into.
Grow into.
That's a better...
But the biggest thing was this. He has no overall arching goal for Antonio is to eventually get into a Gen 1, Gen 2 Dodge Viper.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to get into.
Right.
And his first step to get that was because he was used to driving front-wheel drive cars was to get a rear-wheel drive car and a manual because he's never driven manual before. Something cheap, something easy, something you can work on, something not too much horsepower because you don't want to jump into, say, a 700 to 500 horsepower monster as your first manual car.
Yeah, that would be a fun experience.
So his was buy a V6, learn it, go up from there.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So the troubles, and I use that in quotes, that running into now, is he's ready for a V8. He's ready for a horsepower boost.
Yeah.
And the trouble comes with that is because he is now starting to become attached to that car.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, the things that he needs to do or would benefit from, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, with that car, if he's going to stick with it. You know, we've talked about brakes and suspension and a V8 swap. That was one of the deals.
That's the biggest thing.
And now he's at the point that, he's run out of steam with the 6-cylinder.
He's run out of steam, especially with it in complete stock form.
Yeah.
So the problem is with this is there's two direct directions to go. The first one is keep the current platform he's got with the V6 and upgrade slowly over time, which you and me have talked about, brakes, blah, blah, because you can do that, you know.
Right.
Or the other option is sell the car completely and get into a Cobra or a V8 or something of the same era or something similar, like a Camaro fish body or like a Liger, an S197 Mustang, something of that nature.
Right.
Why doesn't he look at a Fox body? I know he loves those.
I think he has. Just Fox bodies are getting way more expensive nowadays. So,
Are they that much more though?
It doesn't feel like it. Just from I've looked at a lot of Fox bodies recently, for other reasons.
I will say this though,
they're pretty trashed.
Yeah.
I know of a good one that's sub $10,000 though.
But here's the thing: if you're buying a one that's about 10,000, let's say, why would you buy that when you could buy just say a better S197 Mustang? And is
it really better?
So here's one thing that our listeners and I've told you guys about this in the past. Ford engineers claimed, this was something I recently found out, that they claimed that when they designed the S197 chassis for the Mustang, that it in stock form is stiffer than a fully caged Fox body Mustang.
Yeah, I knew that they were, just from talking to David
Yeah.
I knew that there was a lot of issues with the Fox bodies with having to stiffen them up, and there's a bunch of work that needs done to make it better, quote unquote better. So that's an issue.
They are lighter, but
So I'm going to challenge this. If he went to a Fox body, it's not as stiff. It's going to be a little more sloppy. He's going to have to drive it.
okay.
Yeah,
If he learns how to drive that,
But he's
with the ass sliding around, he's going to have a lot better time driving a
But he's
Dodge
already
Viper
learned
later.
how to drive the SN95, and that's also based off the Fox.
He's
body
trying to
platform.
graduate to a V10 that has a fuck ton of power.
Okay.
He's going to kill himself in that car if he doesn't learn how to keep the back end from sliding out in front of him.
I guess, but if you're planning on putting more power into it, wouldn't it be the same thing as going? In fact, you'd have more power than a Fox body. Those Fox bodies only made what 210.
So your family has a Viper.
Yes,
You also have a Cobra.
yes,
The ass ends on those cars love to try to catch the front end, right?
yes.
Okay. If he's building the car,
Okay.
the S190 or 91 whatever, 197?
SN95 is what he's building.
Okay, so if he's trying to build that
Okay.
to be fast, and it's not going to get to the point where there's so much power that the ass end is trying to catch the front end,
Okay.
he's not going to learn how to drive a Dodge Viper.
Okay.
I don't think you can't go. It's not an apples to
No,
comparison.
I don't
right?
think so either.
So he's building into a car. He needs to learn how to drive more power anyway.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
point was whether a Fox body was comparable to an S197 or not, right?
Yeah.
So which platform's better to build or get into? It's not comparing those to a Viper because they don't compare.
Yeah.
No.
He needs more power to play with
And that's the
right
first
now.
thing. Yes.
Yeah.
But
And-
my point is, the Fox body it's going to be more sloppy. It's not going to drive like a Viper. Don't get me wrong.
No.
Yeah.
But it will teach you how to keep that
To a
ass
degree.
end
Well, so
behind
are
you.
you saying
to a
that's
degree.
better to have for him to have, especially as a build that he wants to get to a Viper, to have a car with more power, but don't upgrade suspension, make it sloppy,
Right.
So it
Not
Body roll.
completely, not completely
See,
sloppy, but I think
in order to upgrade a Fox body, it takes more work than
Yes.
the 197. That
Yeah.
I think is where
in the suspension, yes.
yeah, that's where the argument is. So I'm with Grant in just going to a 197. However, it does way more. That car is heavier.
yeah.
Are there more options for building the 197 than the 95?
It's arguable because
Yeah.
the SN95, which is the round body Mustang from the
Right.
90s and early 2000s, they've got the ability to run into anything the Cobras did. You got independent suspension there. You've got the 5.4 liter you can throw in there. You've got the older SN95 of the 96 and 98, which is the 5 liter, which is the body panels to have it so you have air ducts and stuff.
Okay, so the other question is he willing to go down that road? Does he want to build that? Does he want to run a 5.4? Because
Yeah.
that would be cool as shit,
That would be cool.
but is he willing to go down that road? Because that's a whole nother ball of wax and expense.
Yeah.
You know, does he really want to build that? Or does he just want to buy something and run it as it is mostly,
Yeah.
and then graduate again?
So the biggest thing we've talked about has been cost in the past and
Yeah.
recently. Okay.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, if you have a V6 and you want to get a V8 out of that, if you have the space and time, I don't think you can get better than buying a wrecked GT Mustang with the V8. Say the ass end's wrecked or whatever, and swap all the parts
it,
on.
yeah.
I think that'd be it. That being said, he does not have the room for a wrecked one.
No.
So he is currently looking at what it would cost on the secondary market and for new parts as well for V8 swapping from that generation of Mustang into it, because it's no headache. It's no trying to, okay, does this fit your, it was all from factory. What would fit there? So
It's
direct-
as swaps go, it's pretty easy.
correct.
Yeah,
You know,
that's fair.
but it is definitely a time consuming because
Yeah.
swapping a V6 to V8 means you're swapping differential, driveline, transmission, brakes. Suspension's going stiffer. You're dropping in a new motor, new wiring harness, new ECU.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
New instrument cluster.
It's a project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is it better?
So he's basically looking at the expense of all of that versus he sells the car for maybe $1,500.
Yep.
Sells the parts that he's purchased or returns them for a $1,500 rebate.
Yep.
Return. Taking that $3,000 and buying something that already runs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and even if he was to say save up a little more, so
Yeah.
$3,000 from what the current market shows, you can either get a higher mileage, same generation Cobra, not a Terminator Cobra, a basic Cobra with like around 300 horses V8,
Okay.
and or mostly convertibles.
That's too bad.
And or you can get a high mileage. My generation Mustang, 2005, 2009 Mustang V8, even the manual. But those are
4.6
pretty,
though.
4.6. But those are pretty rough. It's when you start getting to about $4.5 to $6,000. In that price range, you can get a very good either, and we've done this before.
Yeah.
The Camaros of the same era, the SS. You can get the and a good GT Mustang of either era. Because the N95, the 90s to 2004 Mustangs, for currently a decent body one is about, I'd say 3.5, maybe for a decent one, 2.5 for a really beat up one.
Okay.
Just that 4.5 to 5 means you're going to have whatever you get is going to be in a good starting project, whatever you have. That makes sense. Okay. Less headaches are going to be why. If someone's getting rid of something for $1,000, they're getting rid of it because of some kind of headache they had.
Absolutely.
Head gasket blew, clutch is gone.
Yeah,
something.
You're going to put work into it.
Yeah.
Now, if you can narrow that down, maybe that's a good deal. It's a race car, so you're going to work on it.
Yeah.
Might as well know what's there.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do that, you can save yourself some money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want my opinion?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it, and I know he would too.
I think in his situation, because he doesn't have space, he's borrowing space from you to work on car.
He does have a place to store it, though.
He does?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
But not to wrench on it.
All right. I think in his situation, he's probably better off selling what he has, returning the parts, and buying new because he doesn't have the time in a space to work on it. Normally, I'm all about a project. That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's swap some motor stuff around. Let's, do this and do that, build it. It's a car he likes. He's attached to it.
Yeah.
So building it, part after part and over time, I think that's great. That's what project cars are about, right? But for him, he doesn't have the space to do it. So it doesn't make sense to go down that road. I think he's still probably going to have to work on something, but it could be a driver at the same time. So I don't think it makes sense for him to do the swap.
No, I think graduating from one to the next is probably the best idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. In honesty.
Okay. My opinion, so here's how I look at this one. I think, honestly, you gentlemen are both right. I think it's better for him if he was to sell that and then buy a V8 of some kind.
Yeah.
That being said, and that starts with the beginning of it, he has gotten attached to that car.
Yeah.
That is a car he does now actually want to keep.
Okay, so here's a thought for that.
Okay.
Because it's having some clutch issues right now. I'm sure you can get that worked out and fixed. He sells the Escort? Does he have an Escort or a
Focus?
Focus.
Yeah.
He sells the Focus.
Okay.
So then he has more money to buy race car. He uses the current Mustang as his daily.
So he really likes that Focus. But on top of that,
you can't love everything, though.
No, you can't.
I think
keep it all.
I think the hardest part is because the way he's got his Mustang.
Yep.
It's a manual. Two things about it. In my opinion, and a manual is great as a weekend warrior. Is great when you're having fun. If you have to sit and stop and go traffic every day, you go in the
it's
gym
not the
stuff,
best.
I
understand. It's not the best.
it's
But
not-
wasn't he worried about his Focus clutches going too? And
Yeah, that's a whole different. That's a whole different show. We'll talk about.
it is. Well, we've already touched on it. But get out from under it now.
Yeah, he does love that car, and I think, and I've talked to him about that, is in terms of the clutch problem,
Yep.
buy another transmission, have it solved beforehand, so when it does go out, we just swap in the new transmission.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a whole nother issue. But
Yeah.
it was just a thought. Like he could get more out of the Focus and then put that into.
I don't know how much you get for those Focuses.
Oh, I don't know.
So the Focus.
Probably,
How much do you think? Actually, I'd like to hear both of you gentlemen what you think it would cost.
Maybe
I'm going to look it up.
what year is
I
it?
don't know what
It's
year
a
it is.
2014 Ford Focus
Okay.
SE sedan.
Yeah, it's super basic.
Yeah.
And that's all fine,
It's
but-
probably $5,000 car.
It might be. I was going to say between 35 and 4,500.
Yeah. I mean, that's right in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Like
It's probably pretty high mileage or whatever, but
3,500.
No, it's
still.
not high mileage. It's at, I think, 70,000 or 80,000 miles.
That's all right for that year. That's pretty low, I guess.
Yeah.
But even still, if he got $4,500 for it,
Yeah.
return those shocks that he got for the other car.
Sell that car.
He's at $6,000 now. He can shop for a Camaro or a better Mustang if that's what he wants. And there you go, race car parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking up in Kelly Blue Book right now, and it's taking forever to load up. I don't know why it's doing that. There we go, Stan. My car's value. Google was saying this car's value, if I could find it, going through, because it is not doing right on this one. Anyways, I'm just going to go with what Google said. Google said those cars' value, generally you can expect to find them at a price around...
Bless you.
That was fun.
Oof. He's allergic to us.
Sorry about that.
Good catch.
Okay. Google says that you can finally general them about $2,000 to $7,000.
That's a huge range. So
Yeah.
4,500 is not out of the question.
I think I've seen these cars sell for about $3,500.
Sure.
And that's mainly because of the infamous automatic.
Yeah.
If it was a manual, different story. Those cars, hold their value and stuff.
Anyway, it's a thought that I'm sure a road he won't go down.
The
but
other
it's
problem
just
with
something.
his Mustang being a daily is it doesn't have ABS. And we're in a wet
Roll
weather.
of the eyes.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
We're of a different generation,
Yeah. Bunch of pussies.
Yeah. I mean,
he was
again,
selling
sports
it.
car, no problem. But it's a daily car. You're driving every day. You get comfortable and
It's
used
fine.
to it.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be something that he would do.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there.
So the other thing, let's just say going back to the Mustang,
Yep.
that he's keeping it is
Okay.
been the engine design. So again, he's looking for seeing what a factory would all be in, see, because that'd be the cheapest, right? The other options for a cheap and expensive route has been also thinking about swapping in, say, a 4.6 liter, like I have in Liger,
Yeah.
a 3-valve, or even the potential of a Coyote. Coyote's kind of pie in the sky,
Right.
I
I think a 4.6 swap in that car because it's substantially lighter than yours, right?
Yes,
I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think it'd be good.
Yeah. And, I don't know, you're the Ford guy. I don't know how that all bolts up in there and how much transmission and rear end and whatever he'd have to change, but it'd be kind of cool.
So think of this. They had the same kind of rear end, an 8.8 liter or 8.8 inch in the GT versus my GT, okay? The transmission that was in them. I have a TR6060 with a remote shifter in my Mustang.
That's not the factory one, though.
That's
right?
factory.
Well,
Mine's a TR6060, but the original one was a TR3650.
There you go.
Okay. That was in there, but mine's a remote. In the SN95, the standard transmission was a TR6060 with a shifter on top. Again, so far all the same.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is the engine. It still was a modular engine, the 4.6 that was in those SN95s, but it was a 2-valve rather than 3-valve.
Uh-huh.
So theoretically, everything should be about the same
Should
length.
line up.
The only difference should be mainly is driveline length.
And you can get that custom pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the TR3650, if that's the same,
Yeah.
I mean, heck, even if it's just difference on bell housing, I've got to use bell housing. We just pop it off and put a new one in, or go to the junkyard get one.
Yeah.
But they should be the same. They're pulled up to it.
I think that'd be kind of cool. And the 4.6 is fairly inexpensive motor, yeah?
Yeah.
To get?
We were looking at a good motor from a good junkyard, low mileage, I think was like 1,400-ish.
Yeah.
But I've seen them on, Facebook for like $800 to $600.
Yeah.
And you're talking 300 foot-pounds, 300 horses, 320 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
I
mean, affordability, yeah, but how long is it going to take to do that project?
So I think if it was that swap and it was from firewall back, because everything's the same as the other Mustang, right?
Okay.
Goes the same in. It's the engine and the wiring harness goes in there.
Yeah.
The first thing that needs to be figured out is if there is a piggyback ECU harness that could be adapted to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with my Mustang, in order to put a Coyote motor into it, you can do that with the standard ECU of my generation Mustang, and they make a wiring harness where you put a Coyote ECU next to it, and it just piggybacks onto that.
Yep. So they talk to each other, and everything's happy.
Correct.
Yep.
Now, if they can do the same thing with the previous generation,
Yep.
which I would assume, because of how wide Mustang's been and how long it's been out, that has been already done, then it should be just put a V8 in there and swap it over. I think the hardest part would probably be, on top of that, would be plumbing. It would probably be the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Because you have to figure out radiator and all that.
Running the harness, your plumbing. I mean,
well, the harness,
your brakes.
So the harness
exhaust.
Exhaust would be the other big one. But the harness on the S197s, they have multiple harnesses, but the one for the engine's all on itself. It unplugs right at the end. So when you drop it into, like, say, the engine bay, it's all right there, all three plugs, and you plug them into the main wiring harness. So as long as that can be piggybacked, that shouldn't be.
So
knock on wood.
Say you can't get a piggyback harness to make it all talk happy.
Correct.
Do you go then aftermarket to Holly or whatever and go that route?
I don't know if it's easier to do that way or if it's be easier just to take the 197 ECU and trick it.
Yeah. Oh.
Because realistically, it's talking to the engine, so it would just need to know on top of that the gauge cluster going through and then the safety features in the back. Possibly traction control too, but those Mustangs also had traction control, so you just hook up the same sensors because again, it's two front wheels into the front, one on the axle.
Are they the same type of sensor though?
Hall effects?
If they're the same, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that works.
Yeah. So, and then, if I'm not mistaken, the Mustang uses a.
How difficult would it be if you can't trick it into thinking it's the same car?
Yeah.
How difficult would it be to take the entire harness from the 197 and put it in?
I don't know on that one.
Yeah.
Because what you're talking about going in is, and this is the one thing that I've also talked to him about going onto this, is with his V6 Mustang, for example, he's got a wire harness going through for the V6.
Yeah.
The V8 one, I've told him, I believe on the V8, the wire harness is the same as mine where it's on the engine, and then there's that second one that goes throughout the car.
Right.
If the one that goes throughout the car is completely different than the V8, that's a whole nother project. You're taking the entire dash out, the back of it, everything's coming out.
You got to
plan for the
if you're going to
worst.
replace it completely, yes, or you are in there with meter and you're, trying to pin out everything.
Yeah.
Which is the other option.
Yeah. And so if that's the case, in terms of the S197 going in there, I don't know how much is going to be needed to put in there.
What you need to know is if somebody's already done it.
Yeah, that's the research on that one.
Yep. If somebody's already done it and they've figured it out, how to do it, you can figure out if there's a module, a go-between module, if you even need that, what plugs in, what doesn't. I mean, I'm sure that information's out there.
What's interesting is just how much Mustangs go together. I've seen swaps of full, for example, modern Mustangs, S550s, being swapped into S197s from the 90s, and they just fit in with not much modification. Which
So I
is
wonder
surprising.
if painless wiring has a kit for that.
I don't know.
I mean, somebody out there.
So here's the one thing I want to ask, because I'm surprised it hasn't been brought up yet, was LS swapping.
Yeah.
How much difficult would that be? Because you would have to full standalone ECU harness.
You'd probably want to put
do
it
that.
in
Like
gauge cluster at that point.
there might be an in-between module somewhere because that happens.
Yeah.
Right? There's people are LS swapping Mustangs.
Yeah.
I don't know how often. Is it enough that they've already come out with this kit that's like, here, plug this in there and plug that in there and you're good to go?
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't answer that.
Yeah. Bang for buck power, though, is that the better route to go, you think?
Yeah.
Because you're getting...
Without question.
Dollar for
'cause
donut.
You're getting for... What's the lowest, cheapest LS motor make for horsepower without any mods for it?
Probably. Oh, how much horsepower does it make? Oh, I don't
Isn't
know.
it like 385,
LS1. Throw yourself an LS1 in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought it was like
the
an LS3 from a
LS3s
truck.
are pretty.
They're more expensive.
They're more expensive, but you're going to get a little bit more horsepower.
Are they? I thought the LS3, they had the truck motor version that was iron, and that was a cheap one.
It's not an LS if it's an iron block.
Yeah, no.
It's an LT maybe.
Might be they made a truck version of the LS motor. I know that, and that's the cheap one.
Yeah, but you don't want a truck motor either.
No, you don't want an iron block if you can help it.
But if you go for a let's just say, an LS1 or LS3 from performance, like from a Corvette or Camaro, you're still going to be spending Coyote money. You're spending $4,000 on that, correct?
But you're getting LS power and LS reliability.
So your standard LS1 is 345 horsepower
Okay,
without modification.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again,
That'd be
it comes
way more than what he has now.
Yeah. Well, and so would the 4.6.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think if the 4.6 is the easiest, least expensive route,
Yeah.
that's the one to go.
So here's a question: the 2-valve original that was in that era Mustang 4.6, you mean, or you mean the 4.6 like in my Mustang, the 3-valve?
3-valve has more power, right?
Yes.
And it's probably same motor mounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then go with that. I would leave that up to you because you would know which motor is best reliability
Yeah.
versus horsepower versus cost.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be able to help him with that. So if it's the 2-valve, cool, go that route. If it's the 3-valve, go that route. Options are out there.
And the harness can't be that much different between the two.
There's going to have to be something.
Maybe
done
a little
regardless.
bit.
I know the biggest thing between the two of them was why they call them 2 versus 3 valve. Obviously, there's 3 valves and one has 2 valves. But on top of that, my generation Mustang was the first time they introduced cam phasers, variable valve timing.
Yep.
And they did that on the intake side. So I know that is one major difference between the Mustangs and ECUs is the original ECUs, I don't believe had the capability to change variable valve timing. And so how that may be one thing that make it different on the piggyback. So for example
I would stay away from it if you can.
Yeah. Well, why? Because you can get more performance by changing your timing on the car.
Okay.
You don't think you
Because
can?
it's a hassle.
It is definitely a hassle.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my only reasoning is to stay away from it.
But bringing back the piggyback system we're talking about, I just realized, so the Coyote also has variable valve setting. Mine has variable valve setting.
So much.
Tonio's doesn't. So I wonder if there is no piggyback because of that communication.
Well, you might have to turn that off.
That's the other thing is you can lock out those phasers
Right.
too. But I don't know how much power you will lose. Typically, people will do that if you're starting to put cams, a bigger intake
Right.
on the 4.6 because the phasers then start getting in the way. But if he's not doing it on budget, that's a whole different.
Yeah. So even if you had to lock that out, the jump in horsepower that he's going to experience from what's he at now, 130?
I think it's one. I think new they claimed it was 190. I think with the years on it's probably at like 150, 160.
Okay.
If I had to guess.
So he's
Doubling it.
almost.
Yeah.
Almost. If he has, if he's going to lose horsepower going without the variable valve timing, maybe it's not quite double. Maybe he's at 270 or 80 horsepower. I mean, that's a big jump.
A big jump.
100 horsepower.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like adding a supercharger.
It was probably even better than that because you don't have, supercharged, doesn't lag, but yeah. So, I don't know. It seems like the most affordable option is that route. It's just a matter of making it happen.
So here's the other question.
Kind of a daunting task.
Here's the other question to ask you guys.
Sure.
Is it worth then, if he's going that route, to forego any suspension, brake mods, focus on just drivetrain with that car?
No.
You think go drivetrain first, then go into or go
No.
suspension first, then into that?
Since he already bought the suspension,
Yes.
keep it.
Okay.
Put it in. He's gonna need it with more horsepower. He's gonna need it. Not only that, he's gonna need some braking mods.
Yeah.
He's gonna have higher speeds. He needs to be able to control the car.
There is also one other factor. So he bought his for a coilover kit that is for a GT Mustang, okay?
Okay.
Of the same era. So the problem is if he ever decides to go into the IRS system from the Cobras into that suspension can't be used for it.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother, he's leveling up if he goes with the IRS, right?
Yeah.
So then you take that suspension back off and you sell it on the used market. Mm-hmm. You get a little bit out of it, not what you paid, but maybe half, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to upgrade again.
Yeah.
But, the IRS system is not cheap. So going down that path is a whole nother level of modifications. And that's just kind of the way we do it.
Well, that's the other thing. It's not cheap, but if you can buy, again, if he sold it, the only reason he will sell that is if the problems we're having currently with the clutch and a few other things ends up being worse than it is, then he will sell it. Okay.
But why? Because if he's wanting to motor swap it, the problems you're having now don't matter.
Yeah, and I've brought that up too on that one. Because if it's still drivable and not, what's the word I'm looking for? It would be sellable and get decent out of it. It's just there's some problems that may come up eventually with it. I don't want to say on the air. But if he buys, for example, a Cobra for $3.5 grand, $3,000.
Okay.
Again, those engines, because especially they're the 4.6, they're not the 4-valve that's non-supercharged. Not as many parts, in my opinion, because they were so limited on it. They are parts availability for big power, but not for just kind of basic power. You already get a Mustang with independent suspension in the rear.
So I got a question.
For 3,500?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What motor does that car have?
Which one?
The current Mustang.
6.
The current Mustang?
Yes.
The current Mustang is a 5 liter. It's the biggest one.
No.
The one he has. It's
one he
V6.
3.8 liter.
3.8 liter V6.
Correct.
Okay. So let's talk about an older car.
Okay.
The 1990 Mercury Cougar XR7 came with a 3.8 liter V6.
Yep.
Supercharged.
Yep. And we've talked about putting that on this car.
So that car claims 210 horsepower, 315 foot-pounds of torque.
With the supercharger.
With the supercharger.
Yeah. And I think the base model made about 140, 160.
Right.
Without it.
So if he's got, we'll say 155, and you put...
He doesn't. If it
It was 190 from factory new with the Mustang.
No way.
190.
How is he getting 190 out of the 3.6? It's a 3.8.
Yeah.
And the Cougar is getting
210.
no
It's 7-year
With the
difference.
supercharger.
without the supercharger.
I know. Google it real fast.
145. You said.
Hang on. That's what I think with power loss over time.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I mean the Cougar's getting 145 without the supercharger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
I mean, it would be another option, right?
Yeah.
Because you'd
supercharging it.
supercharge it, you get more horsepower. Maybe not quite V8 horsepower. You don't have to replace the entire suspension. You don't have to replace the entire brake system. You don't have to replace the rear end. You don't have to replace the drive lines. I mean,
that was a huge talk we've had about going in, and that would be a cheap way going into it.
right.
The difference on going that one would probably be, let's just say when you put a supercharger, let's say it's now making 230, okay, foot horses. Probably more, maybe less, whatever. Just say that one, okay. The T5 transmission will handle it. I think they're good for stock with everything about 250 horses. It has a 7.5 inch rear end. Open differential. I do not know what that will handle.
Okay. But he doesn't have to replace it now. If he grenades it,
Sure.
then we replace it.
Do it then.
So, do you think then it's better to do the supercharger swap as a start rather than V8? Because that's been the thing that's been.
Well, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Can that motor handle a supercharger?
I mean, it's the same motor.
It's clearly not. If it's making 190, and the stock one that he's talking about was 145,
Yeah.
it's not the same motor. It's got the same displacement.
Yeah.
I'll have to look up I've seen people swap those superchargers on these Mustangs.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know
it's just can the internals handle it?
Yeah.
Like, if you're putting that much more, another 50 horsepower, can the crank handle it? Can
Biggest
the
thing-
rods handle it?
biggest thing is doesn't need to be tuned
Yeah.
because it's
I don't
taking
need
in-
to be tuned.
It's taking in more air. Well, it's not.
Well, can the ECU even handle it?
That's what we're saying. Yeah.
Do you have to replace injectors? Do you? Yeah, right.
Well, I don't know if you need to displace ejectors because if you can just say take it all off of the what was it called?
The Cougar
ECU?
XR7.
Cougar.
Oh.
If you take all
Oh,
that off,
yeah,
because the what we've looked up in the past has been the supercharger, intake, intercooler, injectors. Put it all directly on there. What else is needed on that? But here's the other thing. Let's just say he's making, again, 230 horses. Is that enough horses, or is it still time for a V8? Because you're spending, let's say, maybe $800, $1,000 for the supercharger swap. You're making more power.
But it's still not V8 power.
I mean, it would take him from here to here, maybe not here, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're splitting
the
the
listeners could totally see that.
Basically, you're going from,
Two.
we'll say 150 horse
Okay.
to maybe 190 horse instead of, I don't know,
250.
what's 250 horse. So, I mean, you're going,
I think
you're
V8
going
is
somewhere
the
in the
way to
middle.
go.
You're going somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think don't waste your money because a
yeah.
4.6 is $800 to $1,300.
Yeah,
You're spending
right.
$1,000 on the supercharger plus all the bullshit you have to go through to make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just go with the new motor.
I think it would be good is if that was your first car. Like if this was like 2 years ago for Antonio or a year ago.
Yeah.
If he was just learned the car, got the bases down, needed a little bit more bump, had it, and especially if he had his own place, that'd be something to tinker with over the winter. You know what I mean? As it sits now, we could take the rear end out, have it done the weekend, it's drivable again. Take the transmission out, have it back in, new transmission, have it drivable again. Because again, all those will fit into this current car with the motor.
yeah.
I will say
It's
that
a good thought, but I still think the V8 swaps the
my mom had a Cougar XR7 when I was a kid. It was either a 90 or 91. And that car, it had miles of pedal in it. So
you have to reach
it
for the
was
car?
fast. That car was fast. And it when it came on, it just kept going.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. I have mixed feelings on it.
Yeah. Well, and there's also one other thing we haven't talked about too. The older 5.0, the older one from the early Mustangs will fit in that too because they had a 5.0 in the early S995 Mustangs. And those engines, even though it's in there, makes less horses than the 4.6 that came after it.
There's tons of
There's
things you can
tons of upgrades for those 5.0s. So
Was that an iron block though?
those ones were iron blocks. But the fact is, you can make some serious horsepower with them. So that's another option. If going that route, do you buy?
I think it comes down to cost.
Yeah.
At that point, choosing what platform you want to build, but what's the cost right now? Like, if you can get a 4.6 for less than $1,000 and actually get that project potentially running with not much more, depending on your wiring harness and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you'll have to do with the same with the 5.0.
Yep.
What's the cost of the 5.0 that doesn't need rebuilt?
Yep.
Because that's the other thing. It's like, how much work does it need? Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can build into it, but
with that car and stuff, 300 is the ultimate goal for right now.
sure.
Should he build that car up? So keep it at 300. That's the goal now. There's no stretch mark after that. That's not once we're done in 5 years, 3 years, we're going to make a 500 horsepower car. This is what it is. Either keep it, sell it, move on to, say, the next episode was a Corvette or a Viper.
Well, right. His ultimate goal is the Viper.
Yeah.
Does he want to do another step in between? Does he want to go Corvette and then Viper, or does he just want to be done with it?
Oh, and that's the thing is if he goes that route, because at this critical moment, picking the engine is going to determine where also the next step is at.
Sure.
Because if he says go a Coyote, like the new Coyote motor into it at 400 horses, that engine you can take it to the moon for power.
Sure, but I don't think he wants to afford that.
True. But if
we're talking super budget right here.
Yeah. Well, the other budget you can, if you're going that route, is a truck Coyote motor. For $1,500, $2,000, a little bit more than 4.6. Not as much horses, only 360 horses, 380 pounds torque, but that's still a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have been done in those cars.
Sure. The reason I tell you or anybody not to use a truck motor is because you don't have the revs. And maybe that's not really important. You have more torque, so that's cool.
You do have the bottom end.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get more torque out of it, but the truck motors were built for torque, not revs.
Yeah.
How are you going to drive your car?
Yeah.
I mean, you adapt to what you have, right? So you have to keep your RPM below 5,000 or whatever in a truck motor. Whereas the car motors, you can rev them to 6,500.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you want to drive it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're driving it as a point-and-shoot car, it might work. But
yeah. And in autocross, I think you get away with it. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
You're not wanting to take that car on the road course, though.
Right, no.
So yeah, big plans. We'll have to keep our listeners.
A lot of options.
I honestly still think if he upgrades that car, he's still going to have to graduate to something else before he jumps to the Viper.
And I think the next step him you've talked about after that is, I think, a Corvette, a C5.
See, I thought he was looking at that already.
We were looking at that. Just trying to find the lowest price one.
No, that's my car.
Oh, okay. Would you like to tell our listeners about it?
Well, I kind of touched on it last week. I'm looking for the cheapest
Base
manual
model.
C5 I can find.
He's trying to fight Antonio
Hardtop.
off for it now.
Hardtop.
Hardtop.
Manual, hardtop, C5,
Yes.
cheapest.
Cheapest.
Doesn't matter on color.
No, I don't care.
Does
what
it have to
color
run?
is. Yes.
Does it matter on title
run.
condition?
Well, that's a good question. I would prefer a clear title.
Okay.
And they're out there.
Yeah.
For sure. I did see one recently that didn't have a clear title, but it's up against two other cars that do at the same price. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you do that?
So, I don't know. I'm not super opposed to it, but I think I'd prefer clear title.
Does it have to run well?
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Because,
It can have some issues. I have the ability to fix.
They have
Okay.
gremlins.
well, every car is going to have a gremlin.
Not necessarily.
So I have seen C5s online not all that long ago that ran,
Yeah.
but if you got them up to speed, they were having issues. So
Yeah, see, I've come across one or two that they had some issues, totally fixable stuff, but the people don't have the time or space to fix. I have both.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, and I have experience with Corvettes, so
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you checked the police impound lot?
I have not.
I just thought of that now because that would be
Those
a
don't
way
have
to get
titles.
really cheap. Like the
It could be.
police auction ones.
he needs a
Yeah.
title though.
Well,
Can't get into that.
yeah, eventually you do. I mean, they give you a police auction bill of sale or whatever, and you can get a title after that. It takes some time. But
Yeah.
you can do it. It doesn't mean they're reconstructed or anything. But it's a good thought. I haven't looked into that at all.
Because I wonder, with a Corvette being that old and people won't probably give it peace of mind, I bet you can get one. That would
Maybe.
one way you can get the cheapest.
Maybe. Yeah.
Just gotta be in mind. Maybe there was a dead body in it at some point.
I'm okay with that. As long as it doesn't smell like a dead body.
Either that or
Probably not in a
cocaine.
Corvette.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you never know,
You
but
never know.
chances are no dead body in the trunk.
Yeah.
Not in the trunk. Maybe in the passenger seat.
Well, I don't know. You can put golf clubs in the back of those cars.
Barely, but yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Midget.
Anyway, that's what I'm looking for.
So we allowed to ask why? Why the son need of a C5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it matters much, really. I want to help my son get into autocross.
Oh yeah.
And he cannot afford that right now, but I don't. I've kind of wanted a C5 for a while,
Yeah.
and this is as good a reason as any.
Okay.
You know, and the car doesn't have to be perfect. You know, I know it's going to have either damage or needing of repairs or whatever, and that's okay. It's just an autocross car.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's why.
Okay.
Nice.
Are you gonna have that be his daily?
No, not at all.
So you're still gonna have him drive?
So you're going to need a motorhome and a stacker to go with it.
No. I need another flatbed. I need a flatbed trailer anyway, and he can tow it with his truck.
Oh, there
so
you go. Nice.
it's a little bit future. I'd like to have it ready to go by next race season. I know it's not going to happen this year,
Yeah.
but anyway, I'm looking. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you
Be
posted.
good.
Yeah.
How come you, if you don't mind me asking, have him just jump in your car? Do you think it's too much for him?
Yes, and I'm a little protective of my car, to be honest.
Okay.
It's not a starter car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. And so, I mean, eventually, maybe if I see that, he's got good driving habits or whatever for race car stuff,
Yeah.
maybe eventually.
So it's eventually going to get down to Fox versus Brad.
What? Oh,
You can have some rivalry.
yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's, I'm casually looking for
Okay.
that. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I've found a couple, but I'm not sure if
The last two questions.
price that they're at, I am willing to pull the trigger just yet.
Last three questions, but they're all second to that. Does the maintenance condition matter in terms of brakes, tires, clutch, all those wear items matter for what you buy?
Not entirely. It's kind of weird. The ones that I've looked at, I've been like, yeah, that's all. They're in condition that, and I haven't looked at them in person. But I'm like, okay, I can deal with the little things that are there.
Okay.
Tires, no, I don't care. Brakes, they're going to be gone through anyway.
Clutch?
Clutch would be nice if it worked fine, so I don't have to do it right away.
Yeah.
But
The second
they
question
have to be done eventually.
is any body panel damage of any kind. Is that fine? It could be beat up. The front end may need a new bumper. Maybe the back has some sun damage.
I'd prefer one that was not that beat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly,
Scratches or whatever are one thing, and it's case by case, right? If everything else about it is really good, but it's got some damage, maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on the model it is, some of those body panels are not that expensive. So
lastly, because it's being race car, interior matter at all? Because it's going to be something he'll drive on the road to the track, or
no, he will not drive it to
So-
the track. It's not street. We're not street driving it to the track. It'll be trailered.
Okay.
Interior is not super critical because I don't mind putting race seats in something, or I don't want to smell like dead body.
Yeah.
But it's not super critical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the ones
If
that
there's
I've
a
seen
hole-
have
hole
pretty
in the
good
carpet,
wear.
It's not that big a deal.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
They've got pretty good seat wear and that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next segment.
Okay.
Let's look at some project cars
Okay.
before we
Jump into our project cars.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You want
Who's
to go
ready?
first, Rob?
I'm ready.
Jeremy's going first.
Jeremy's ready.
Okay, so the first one I found is in Milford Center, Ohio. It's a 1974 Toyota FJ Cruiser.
Okay.
74, you said?
74.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So the thing I like about the Land Cruisers of that era,
Yeah.
you could drop a Chev 350 in it and not change any of the drivetrain.
Did you bolts up?
It does. You can get a adapter.
Okay.
But what I'm getting at is the axles and drive lines and all that stuff, the
Yeah.
transmission, transfer case, they don't grenade.
Oh,
So
Gotcha.
They're pretty stout. This one's in some pretty rough shape as far as paint and stuff like that, but it looks like it's got a pretty straight body, a little bit of rust. Seats probably need to be redone. One of my favorite rigs. Looks like it does have a little bit of tread left on the tires. It's currently sitting at $1,250.
Oh wow.
It does not run.
There's the
Oh,
kicker.
wait. Needs battery, so unsure of mileage and unsure if it will start.
Okay.
$1,250.
It's a good price.
Yeah.
Okay, Grant?
I'm trying to do research on this because this is very interesting.
Well, since you're still researching.
Yeah, like I have it up. I'm just it's kind of shocking. And okay, and first I'll just say what this is. So this is a 1999 Jurassic truck. It's not Jurassic Park.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Just listen to me. Jurassic Truck Company Hummer T-Rex Edition. It was a kit that goes on the Hummer, and there's only 115 of them built.
Which Hummer is it going?
It's on an original Gen
H1?
H1 Hummer.
Okay.
I was trying to research what it does. Apparently, they swapped it, not just this one, but also, I think the kit includes, to a Chevy 350 into it instead of the diesel
Instead
motors.
of the diesel?
Yeah. Still trying to read through.
It's the truck version? Not
Yeah.
the... Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's still got a convertible top and stuff, and still looks like a Gen 1 Hummer.
Yeah.
This one, they want $17,000. It's in Texas, Bertram, Texas. It's got, let's see, 350 Vortec with Edelbar carbs on it, Jegs dual plane intake and headers. New wiring's installed, needs fuel lines to be straightened up. I guess it sits on an 80s Suburban frame is what it says. Transmission is a TH350 with a 4x4 onto it.
So an 80s Suburban frame, that was not original to the H1. Weren't they...
I wonder if this is...
They just took the body kit off? And,
Yeah, I wonder if the Hummer is on top of the Chevy.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They're so wide.
Well, here's another one on Cars and Bids, which should give us some more info on this one, on what this actually is.
Okay.
You know, because anyways, it's a, let's see, they say it looks a lot like a Hummer, but it's not. It's a replica called the T-Rex that was built by a short-lived company, the Jurassic Truck Company, based in Texas. I'm sure it'll turn heads everywhere it goes. It's built on a robust, mass-produced underpinning, boasting a Chevrolet Source 3.7 small block V8, which is easy to find parts for. The T-Rex includes half doors, removable soft top, third row seating, and 6 passengers for off-road. So essentially, it was Suburban.
It was a kit. Gotcha.
That was a kit that turned it into a Hummer.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
17,000.
They want $17,000 for it. Again, it's looks still like a project, bright red. You have essentially a Hummer without being a Hummer, and you know, you got the usability of Chevy parts into it.
Oh, that's cool.
350. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So the one that one of the two that I've found, this is a Lotus Esprit. So as a kid, I always really liked the Lotus Esprit. So this caught my eye.
That's cool.
It's not a project car. It's a little more expensive than that, but I thought it was cool. You don't see them come up very often. This is a 1994 Lotus Esprit in Brule, Wisconsin. I hope I'm saying that right.
Okay.
Red with the light tan interior. It's just a gorgeous car, actually. It's got 33,900 miles on it. The current owner has had it over 10 years. And it's got all the major service done. I'm not sure if this particular one, because it doesn't say in the listing, it's an Esprit S4, but I don't know if it has which motor it has in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't say on here. But it is a manual transmission. What is it? Let's see. It's on 10,000 miles. No, it's got 33,000 miles on it. What is that? Only 350 of them made in 1994. So pretty low numbers.
Interesting. Okay.
It's pretty cool. Decent looking car as far as what he says about the upkeep and that kind of stuff. It looks like everything's been serviced properly. HVAC is a little bit weak, but that's it. It's available on Marketplace for 50 grand. And I don't know. I feel like
Not
50
too
grand for a Lotus Esprit is pretty decent.
What year is it?
Is it the turbo?
94. It doesn't say anything about the running gear, which
Because-
is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, because they made non-turbo versions. I
They
believe.
did, but also didn't they make? And I'll show my ignorance about the Lotus a little bit. They had 4-cylinder versions and 8-cylinder versions.
Yeah.
Turbo in the 4-cylinder. I think they had a turbo in the 8 also, but I don't remember. And I'm sure it was different years that those were available. So
Yeah.
I wish there was some information on this post about what motor it has, because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now just to see what's in it.
Yeah.
Over the years, the performance of Esprit's 4-cylinder engine was increased from 148 horses to just under something. In 1996, the 3.5 liter twin turbo V8 was added.
Okay, it was
That may be
96
a-
is when they went to the V8.
Yeah. So that may be a
Four-cylinder
Well, this
turbo.
is a 94, so it's likely a 4-cylinder turbo.
it's in derivatives. Well,
They were fast. The 4-cylinder.
They were super fast.
no.
I
It's
got to ride in one once,
Yeah.
and it was quite the experience. I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, 50 grand if you're into the Lotus, I feel like that's kind of cool. 33,000 miles is not very many.
Does it say if it's an S4 and S?
It's an S4.
The S4 engine had the same power output as the SE at 264 horsepower. So, yeah, okay, that's good on that one. And that, I think,
So, yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there was just a little bit lack of information on the post, but
Yeah.
like I said, it's
Cool
available
car. Something you
in
don't
Wisconsin.
see every day.
It is cool. Yeah. Kind of neat. All right, that was that.
So I stuck with the theme.
Okay.
What?
Weird, right?
Yeah.
So I found another Toyota Land Cruiser.
Okay.
This one is a 92, so it's an 80 series. It's got locking differential, 35-inch tires, a 5-inch lift. It's reliable. It does have 235,000 miles, which is okay because those motors were actually pretty bulletproof.
Okay.
Does have some flaws, a little bit of rust. All in all, in pretty good shape. It looks really straight from the pictures, but like I said, a little bit of rust under the back window, stuff like that. This thing's really nice. Does have some interior damage, stuff like that. It is $8,000, which is pretty low actually from what I've been seeing, because my wife and I are looking at one that she can drive to and from work and take the dogs. So this one is in Titusville, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
237,000 miles, automatic.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
Nice. Right on.
a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
237,000 miles. That's a couple.
That's a couple miles.
Yeah.
Couple miles. We drove one recently that had 235,000 miles, and it was a little gutless, a little more gutless than I was hoping. It was a couple years older. I think it was a 90. And it wasn't as good in as good a shape as this one, so I don't know. I think there's a lot you can do to them though.
Okay.
It does have an inline 6.
So my next car, I wanted just to check this out to see what's going on. I found this very, 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 very interesting. It goes with, again, the theme that we've been talking about. So I've got in Liberty Hill, Texas. I'm not sure about this one. Maybe I'll go with the other one. The other one was running. So let's go to Austin, Texas. It's a 2003 Ford Mustang GT with a Cobra swap motor into it
Well, there you go.
for $3,500.
Swap's already done.
Swap's already done.
you
Already
go.
into it.
Yeah.
Full Ford Mustang GT with Cobra engine, long tube headers, X-pipe. Car has leaky gasket for long tube headers on the right side. Okay, so that just needs to be fixed. But it's already done for $3,500. It's some of the panels are in a little bit rough shape and whatnot, but it shows that, it's not bad. Like, hell, there's another one I found, Liberty Texas, like I was saying, it's not running, but has a Terminator swap and broke down all the parts they spent on it and how much it was.
Yeah.
And they want $2,000 for it. So
$2,000.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's in Liberty Hill, Texas.
That's quite a commute.
Yeah. But they can be found.
It can be.
Yeah. And these are ones with already done on it. The one that was done, the earlier one I said, the 2003 one, has 90,000 miles on it, which is nice. And the one that is a 2003, for 2000, that one says only has 60,000 miles onto it, 68,000 miles on the Cobra motor specifically.
Oh, on the motor. Yeah, I was going to ask if it's chassis miles or motor miles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, those are the two I found.
Okay. My last one is a Ford Bronco. It's the 94 version.
Nice.
So we're getting into the more rounded front end. It's got the and the built-in headlights. I'm very partial to the late 70s, early 80s. With the round inset, sealed type headlights.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we're getting into the 90s, as far as restoration vehicles, and this is still a nice Bronco. It's obviously the full size.
So that would be like the OJ
Yes.
style, OJ
Exactly.
body style.
Yes.
I like those.
It is not white.
Not
It's kind of a seafoam blue, but it's really straight. And I thought, well, damn, that would make a great project truck. The body is in really good condition. The door panels are in really good condition. There's one little crack on the dash pad, and the seats could probably use a reupholster because they were like that cloth velour, whatever material. It's got center console instead of, it doesn't have a bench across, because I know some of those came with a bench seat in the front. So this has got the buckets. It could use a carpet kit. It does have the back bench seat that looks pretty good. Obviously, you'd want to reupholster that too to match your front seats.
Yeah.
It's just under $6,000 in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. It is an automatic, which for a fun vehicle, that's okay.
Yeah.
It does not say what motor it has in it. I'm gonna assume that it's the 351. That was pretty popular for those vehicles.
Yeah, it would have been either a 302 or a 351.
Right. And I'm, full-size Bronco of that era, probably the 351. The Windsor motor, likely. Let's see. Yeah, the information it gives, pretty minimal. But as far as a project truck for $5,900, you might be able to get it for less than that too. All the windows are in good shape. I don't know. I think that'd be a really good one. That's a really clean Ford Bronco.
Yeah.
Yep, that'd be worth picking up.
Nice.
That's what I got. What do you got? Anything else? No, the other guy.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
Okay. All right. So what we want to do at this time is we want to talk about some other project vehicles.
Yeah.
So we set out a challenge a few weeks ago to build a project vehicle from scratch.
From scratch.
From
no
scratch.
kits, no nothing.
Not buying it as a kit, not buying a vehicle and then adding to it or resto modding it. This is building from all aftermarket available parts. So we kind of wanted, Jeremy, can you change that screen? We kind of wanted to do a check-in. Now, Grant hasn't started his yet because he's been busy. And that's fine. Absolutely fine.
So let me ask a question before you go too deep.
Do it.
Okay.
How in depth do we want to go into what we found, or what do we want to go into minus what we're putting into it? Maybe a cost, like here's where we're at.
Yeah.
Or maybe
I think
X done.
Yeah. I kind of see what you're meaning. We can touch on where we're at with cost. I'm
Okay.
fine with that. It doesn't really matter. What you've looked at so far, that's I think
Yeah.
what we should touch on.
And I want to give a percentage of what
Completion?
we think we're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the vehicle I chose, I was given the Chevy product, basically muscle car package, right?
Mm-hmm.
I decided to go with a Nova, Chevy
Ooh,
Nova,
okay.
from 68 to 74.
Wow.
I chose that because Speed Tech Performance has a huge amount of product for that vehicle. As far as you can buy basically an entire frame setup, suspension, spindles, A-arms, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole kit, that gets you off the ground pretty good, quote unquote, gets you off the ground if you put tires on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not cheap. I tell you what, that's one of the things that really, I don't know if it shocked me, but surprised me a little bit how expensive it would be to build a vehicle like this.
Right, and you're looking at the first component.
Yeah. Well, it's a big component. It's a
is.
lot of
It is.
components all put together
Yes.
because this track time package that I chose is not the top of the line one, but it's not the bottom either.
Right.
And it did come with, your basic frame, cradle, front and rear suspension, A-arms, steering package, the rear end, and all of that for just under $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty big chunk, but you get a lot of parts with it. So, and then you can go through on SpeedTech's site and select all these other components
Okay.
that go with it, just to get you a little further into your build. And I think what it came up as just over $24,000 with all these extra components. I'm not going to name them all, but there was a lot of accessories that had to do with engine mounting and body accessories and good grief, steering options.
What was the most expensive
Sway
one
bars
of that?
of those extra pieces.
Yeah.
Probably the rear end.
Yeah, rear end option with the 9-inch housing, axles, and the True Track component for $3,400.
Okay.
That was an add-on. Yeah, everything else. What's this one? Headers. I bought headers
Oh, nice.
just because I could click a box and there they
Yeah.
are, $2,000. I could probably find those cheaper somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But there you go.
Yeah.
You tell them what motor you have, and they will provide headers that work with the frame.
Right.
That's the key right there, right?
That's hard.
Exactly. Oh, you're going to have them custom made if
Yeah.
not, right? Because buying headers for a small block 350 is not the same as buying headers for a LS that are going to fit that frame.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do it through them, and boom, there you go.
Okay.
Went with the Willwood braking package, front and rear rotors and calipers. Total cost of about $3,400
Are those universal rotors? Because I'm seeing so
I know.
many holes in them. Wow.
with that cap.
That one looks like it.
That one looks universal. This one not so much, but it's just a screen grab I got for it.
Yeah. Okay.
I selected a LS 427, so a LS7 motor,
Blueprint.
a long block, so it's got all the accessories already bolted to it. $18,000.
Yeah.
That's pretty cheap.
Basically,
That's
add a
not
harness and a
bad.
bell housing and a trans.
For
and-
625 horses, that's way cheaper than I thought it was going to be.
Right, that's not bad at all. I went to Holly for the LS harness kit and the dashboard kit that goes with it. Add another, what is that? Just over $4,000, $4,300.
So that's just the gauge cluster.
Wow.
Well, the gauge cluster is $1,800, and then the wiring harness with ECU is $26.
Yeah.
Now, is that one that will fit into the Nova, or
Well, they're not car specific. The wiring harness is not. That's not.
I mean
car
the
specific.
dash.
The ECU. No, you'd have to make a custom
okay?
enclosure for the dash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
TR6060.
Good old TR6060.
You betcha. Why not, right?
Yeah.
For the LSX, $4,000 off the shelf.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually not for brand new.
Yeah, brand new.
That's a good price.
And that's the key to this is we can't buy used parts unless we absolutely can't find the part, right? Yeah, there it is, 6060. I had to add.
You went the carbon route.
I did. Well, it was only 600.
That is insane to
That
me.
says six.
That,
My eyes are a little blurry,
are
but
you sure it's not just aluminum and they wrapped it with that?
that's fine. I don't know.
Carbon just makes it stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks good. It adds speed.
Well, it's not red, so I don't
Ring
know
and
about
pinion gear for $180. I went with 3.7 gears.
that. Yeah.
And oh yeah, I got into the steering column. I started putting other components together for just under $400 for a steering column. And this piece actually had this steering shaft in my Speed Tech
Chassis.
shopping cart.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And I think I'll scratch that out because this one's cheaper.
This one's cheaper.
Yeah, the one from Jegs.
So a question I'm kind of surprised is not on here, Rob. Why is there no clutch chosen?
I haven't
Well,
got there
he hasn't
yet.
got there yet.
Oh, I know, but does that mean
So-
you're like really diving in and like you're taking that was one you're gonna think about, or are you just gonna go with what?
I
Probably
just,
just ran
just
out of
hadn't got
time.
there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is all just stuff that I've the time that I had, what I had gotten through, and that kind of stuff. And that was something that we were going to talk about. Is
Yeah.
forgetting components would
Yeah.
be
Right.
super easy, especially because you don't have your hands on it. You know,
Yeah.
you're building a checklist out of your brain. Like, what am I going to need for everything?
Yeah.
And like Jeremy had mentioned, what about all the nuts and bolts to put all this together with? Right.
Fuck, I gotta go back to the
I
store.
haven't even got to that yet.
Here's one that a lot of people forget is your fuse box
Yeah.
Sure.
relays.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'll have to look at that wiring harness. Like, does it? It probably doesn't come with a fuse box, but you'll need that.
Yeah.
You know, and
Voltage regulator.
turn signals and on this and that, and you know, there's so many little tiny pieces, parts.
What do you think right now, without because you're not done with your project? What is the total value of just what you've got listed?
Just what I have. So I was just thinking about that too. Goodness, what am I? 24 there. Three. That's 27. There's there's another 20. So I'm at 45.
Yeah. 47.
Another 2.
And that's not body.
49. There's 52.
50.
Yeah, I'm at about 52 to 55,000 just with the stuff I have in my cart.
And that's
And
the body panels too, right?
I have no body panels. I have
Wow.
chassis and motor, you know, running gear.
Okay.
And it's not even complete yet. Like you said, I don't have a clutch in there. I haven't done wheels and tires, though, which is funny. I did select them, but for
they're
some
not
reason
in
they're
there?
not in here, so I must have forgot to
Yeah.
copy them over.
I didn't even think about the fucking tires and wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
They go 24
So-
inch with the rubber bands.
I was telling Rob, I've got 2 pages of stuff on paper already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just like, okay, I'm brainstorming what components do I need, right? And tires is not.
Tires and wheels are not there.
They're not here.
Right.
They're not here. I have axles on here. I have drive lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally did select them, but I just spaced putting them on my list, I guess. But yeah, it'd be super easy to overlook something. So, you know, we'll go through them with a fine-tooth comb and kind of nail everything down. I haven't, you know, that was just a quick add up just looking at the list. So
Yeah.
52,000, and I don't even have a rolling chassis.
I will say before
Right.
we jump into Jeremy's though, because of how expensive, just say yours is.
Yeah,
There are shops that do this,
I know.
and most of them are resto mods.
Yeah, but they start with a donor.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Is either
So here's
think about ones that do the carbon fiber bodies and stuff, like the Challengers we've been seeing, Camaros that do that. You know, shops will do that with this one. The I mean, the only way you can get price down is you get a wholesale onto that, which is not cheap already.
Right. Well, I think if
I'm
you're
thinking-
building it from absolute aftermarket scratch, you're going to, there's no price cutting. There's no way to cut that.
you can't.
I mean, I did choose a package that was probably more expensive than most, but I chose it from a reputable dealer.
Yeah.
The only way to make this cheaper is you buy a donor car, and
Yeah.
then you start replacing what you need to,
Right.
not what you want to.
Oh, wait till you see how much I'm at.
Oh,
All
yours
right, let's
is-
hear this,
yours is a
Jeremy.
lot. Yeah, you can
So
take over the screen there if you want.
yeah, let's jump over to mine. Okay, so I'm not going to go down yet. I want to read some of the things that I have on this paper first.
Okay. Dear Diary.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about what I have kind of
Okay.
already up there. I don't want to go through everything too in depth because
Yeah.
I think we'll go through all that later.
Okay.
But like, okay, so on the 2 pages, I'm going to blast through this really quick. I've got frame, body, engine, transmission, transfer case, front axle, rear axle, wiring, driveline, seats, dash, carpet, gauges. I have no windows,
Okay.
Yeah,
no
that's
tires,
another thing.
no wheels.
Yeah.
Page 2, I have brakes, front and back, headliner, headlights, taillights, cab lights, door assemblies, mirrors, and paint.
Damn.
Like,
Oh, you're missing so much stuff.
oh
Yeah.
man, and that was like, I probably sat there for an hour thinking of this stuff. right?
Brainstorming that.
Yeah, and then as I'm doing that, I'm like thinking of all these other things, and as we're sitting here talking, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
What about the nuts and
What about
bolts?
that?
What about the shifter lever,
Yeah.
the steering wheel, the
Oh, yeah.
You know the easiest way to break this all down so you don't forget something? You pull up a parts catalog of your car,
Yeah.
of every
You're gonna
part
have
that's
to.
from the factory, and just be
Yeah.
like, okay, how am I going to replace all of them?
Kind
Let's
of,
go
yeah.
back to the body, right?
Yeah.
I ended up writing cab, fenders, inner fenders, hood, grill, radiator support, bed.
Door handles.
So, yeah, I even got the
Floorboards.
door handles or the fucking locking gas cap,
Yeah.
exhaust, or
All the little tiny nicky
I haven't even.
pieces.
Oh, I did write engine down, but I didn't do exhaust.
Yeah.
I'm going to put let me put a caveat on this challenge we're doing. Mm-hmm. I think a better one, by the end of this, who is going to also have the most complete car?
That's I mean, we can definitely
Oh, man.
try.
We're going to forget things.
Right?
Well,
Oh,
we
no,
can
no.
try to look at that, but that's a serious consideration.
100% I am going to forget shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I know I will too.
But, okay, so
I mean, all right, you put a gas tank in it, whether you
Right,
go
I haven't even
sealed
picked the
cell,
gas tank yet.
sealed cell, or a stock replacement or whatever, you forget to put the filler neck on it.
what about all the fittings?
Yep.
The line? The,
Oh yeah. So
you
I would
guys-
be surprised if we get through this under 200,000.
I'm just going to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
I've got probably the easiest build because building a very basic Model T,
That might be the easiest thing to fucking build.
I just thought of that, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Since he hasn't started.
I was
I mean, he
I
was-
was thinking
he
like
was supposed to build a Mustang.
or something.
I will
Build-
say for our listeners,
well, you
whatever.
said Ford.
my-
You did
yeah.
just say Ford.
I did.
you know me, I like to work.
I know it's a pain in the ass.
But
get it.
my plan for the listener was I do plan on doing a 69 Mustang.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
a good year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna quickly,
You're gonna go Mach 1?
Yeah, I want to go like something like that and just see what I could build with that. I want to see
Yeah.
what's availability, but that's
Sure.
my goal plan.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
I'm gonna tell you what I picked and why. Okay.
Okay,
I picked a 1973 Chevy K10 pickup.
Chad's crying somewhere.
No, I picked
No, Chad
that.
likes it.
He
I
likes the
picked
C10.
it. I picked it because of Chad. So
you picked the
Chad
K?
focuses more pre-72, 72 and older, right?
Okay. Yes.
And the C series, not the K series.
67 to 72 is his.
Yes, that's his bread and butter.
However, he did just pick up a four-wheel drive.
Yes,
got a
he
K10.
did. He did pick up a K.
Yeah.
However, most of his bread and butter is the C series, and
Yes.
it's pre-72.
Yeah.
So I picked the 73, which is a square body, and I really like this body,
Okay.
body style. I know I'm not even close to being done, and I am at an atrocious amount. I wouldn't pay the amount I have on there for a new car.
Yeah, and you're not even
I'm not even
near
close to
not
being
even
done.
near being done.
So let me tell you what I have. I have a frame. It comes with a lot of components.
Okay,
It does not come with everything. I have the cab, which does come with some extra components, the floor, the firewall, the hung doors, and stuff like that. I do have a hood, radiator support, upper grille, front fenders, inner fenders. The front hardware kit, I did 2 sets of. I don't have a bed yet. I don't know what I'm going to go with. I don't know if I'm going to go with fleet side, step side,
Flatbed.
or flatbed. I am kind of leaning towards a flatbed because I do like the look of them, but I don't know.
Jeremy, if you want extra homework, you can always get a tow truck bed.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's a K10. So
Yeah, it's a little light duty for that.
yeah. But just with those components, I mean,
Yeah, you don't have a lot there.
I don't have a lot here.
You don't even have a running gear.
Now, hold on. Let's go back. In the chassis that I picked, I do have LS motor mounts, Fox factory suspension. I have 13-inch brakes for front and back. I have stainless steel brake line package. It's got an Atlas transfer case. It does have it does have a front and rear axle. Dana 60 front or Dana 60 rear, Dana 44 front. It does come with the gears.
Okay.
It does come with the spindles. The brakes are already installed.
Wow.
Pretty much have a rolling chassis.
It's
there.
almost a rolling chassis minus the tires and wheels that I completely forgot about.
Yeah. Okay.
That was not a cheap component. You put 24 on yours? Mine's double that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Literally double that.
But you have being a 4-wheel drive, you have a bit more hardware that needs to go with, being transfer case, and you got front and rear axles, where I just have spindles.
Yeah.
And, A-arms. So it's a bit. Yeah.
And the Fox suspension, it is set up to actually be able to run it off-road.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a little bit of desert running.
Nice.
So I'm going to tell you what my total is right now. We're at $73,100.
Wow.
You do have some body panels, though. You've got your cab and stuff like that. You don't have a motor selected yet.
I don't.
I'm just saying.
And transmission.
So that motor alone is going to push me over 100.
What motor are you thinking?
It's going to be an LS.
Okay.
I am going to put an LS in it. I did pick the LS motor mounts in my chassis kit.
Yeah.
So
Pick the one Rob did. Copy his homework.
I mean,
well, no, I didn't want to.
427 is not really a off-road motor, but
Actually,
Well,
here's
it would work.
I mean, it would work.
Yeah.
well, here's a question to ask you guys.
Yeah.
'Cause- So both you guys have picked chassis that are, they're aftermarket.
Yes.
Did
That's
either
the-
of them
that's the
claim
whole-
how much torque or power they can hold?
No.
Because that's a big thing.
I'm sure the Speed Tech one
Yeah.
is rated. I didn't copy that into my deal,
Yeah.
but
Because when you're having so much horsepower, you can twist frames and stuff like that.
you sure can. I mean, and the one that I chose is the Track Attack package.
Yeah.
So it's designed for
So this is
track use. That's awesome.
That's really cool.
I'm sure that there are specs in there for what.
For our listeners, we're looking at the chassis of Jeremy's.
This
Yeah,
one. It's
that's amazing.
It is fully boxed in,
Yeah.
Jesus.
and it's a legit suspension. It
That
will.
is
It will
cool.
take a beating, and I don't think it'll have any problems with an LS.
I can see why it's $50,000.
Yes.
Scroll down. What's it say on it? It's gonna. Let's see.
I don't want to go through it.
Okay.
I think it's. We'll go through it more in depth when we get there,
Yeah.
but it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got freaking hubs. It's
set
it's
up.
ready to go.
Put a motor and transmission on it and
I can drive
hook it up.
Yeah, drop a cab on it, some fenders, and boom, we're good as gold.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That is really cool.
Yeah.
But think of this right now. So let's just say with motor, you're gonna be at over $100,000.
yes,
We're talking the same money as a loaded out brand new any pickup truck right now. We're talking
the-
250.
Well, by the time.
my truck right now, if I was to go buy it, or Rob's truck, if
Yeah.
we were to go buy them right now, we'd be at 105, 110,000.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the leather, the
Brand new
heated
ones.
seats,
Yeah.
the cooled seats.
Or a brand new 2026 F-250.
Yes.
Yes. Which is, but yeah, that's just great. But you're not even done with your build.
I'm not even fucking close to being done, and I'm almost $100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that $200,000 estimate.
Yep. I know. It'll be tight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I try really hard, I might be able to keep it under two.
Well, I don't want you to. I want you to put it together the way you want to build it,
Yeah.
and I want to see what that costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I haven't looked at body panels for mine yet, so I really don't know what that costs at the moment.
Yeah.
But then, you got to think about all the interior and all the everything else that goes.
Yeah, headliner,
nickel
the
and dime
mirrors,
bullshit.
everything.
I gotta
All the
say,
screws to fucking put it together.
I have to say, this gives me, from the cost value and for putting stuff together, again, haven't even started yet, but
Right.
seeing what you guys done, this is a whole new perspective and respect for companies like Factory 5 and Superformance building kits.
That is
for the
exactly-
value they have.
That's exactly what I thought of too. Like you can go buy a GT40 kit, not complete but really close.
Like $100,000,
I think it's less than that.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But regardless, you've got a full car, interior, motor, all axles, brakes,
yeah,
wheels,
yeah.
panels,
I bet.
gauges.
The ones that I was looking at they didn't come with the motor.
Yeah. That's pretty much it, right?
For 70,000.
Yeah.
I bet once I put the paint on it that I'm thinking, I mean, that's going to be another $10,000 or $12,000.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Krylon on mine.
Well, I mean, here's another thing.
You're going to crayon yours?
We
Crayon.
talked about this in the past with the Factory 5. What is the Cobra? Their entry level Cobra was $15,000, right?
For the base kit.
For the base kit.
Yeah.
And that comes with the chassis, suspension. There's no brakes, though. No engine.
Right. No
But
running.
You get an interior.
Does it come with the interior?
I think so.
Oh.
What I'm saying
It's
is,
a pretty basic car.
let's just say all into it, you're going to be in $30,000 into it. When you put your own components into it.
I'm going to have
Factory
$2,000
5?
or $3,000 in tires.
You're 50 or 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
think
regardless,
it's still less than this.
it's way cheaper than this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So anyway, I think it's a good exercise to really look at what it costs to put one of these things together. If you're using all aftermarket parts now,
Yeah.
think about that. But it also makes you think about the guys that do resto mod work or restorations of any vehicles. This is why it costs so much.
Yeah.
Components are not cheap.
Yep.
And then, if they're doing it as a business, labor is not cheap. People should get
time is not
paid.
cheap.
People should get paid for their expertise. Don't go to a $20 an hour mechanic because you're going to get $20 an hour work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Nobody likes to have to pay that bill, but these guys are professionals, and there's a reason they get paid. The money that they do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Stuff's expensive. I think this is a neat exercise to go through. I'm anxious, Grant, to see what the Mustang comes out as. I know you're very thorough. Like
You're going to be 100 hours into just picking parts.
I need to, I was lucky to spend the time that I did on this already because I've been super busy, but I'm anxious to get back into it and start, finishing out my build and finding the components. And also, surprisingly, the stuff that I've found so far has not been that hard to find.
Yeah. I will say, if there's a listener listening out here that's really used to Chevy Camaros, it'd be really interesting to see if he was to build one from scratch.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm not pulling out someone
and I
particularly.
think
Jimmy.
I'm thinking of a guy that
Jimmy.
might be named Jimmy that has got a lot of couch time right now because he had knee surgery last week.
Oh, I forgot about
Maybe
that.
2 weeks ago. But Jimmy, I challenge thee.
Yeah.
Build yourself a Camaro out of
Brand new
aftermarket
parts.
parts.
I feel like the Camaro's going to be a lot easier to source parts than what we're going
Most
through.
of the Chevy stuff is.
Yeah.
Dude,
I chose
Mustangs
a Nova
have-
because you don't see a lot of Novas.
Mustangs have catalogs of parts.
No, that's true. But
Yeah.
the one thing that I've noticed about Mustangs and Ford, you can get that for engine, suspension, brakes, blah, blah. I think I'm going to have a hell of a time trying to find body panels.
No.
I think you
0%.
can buy 0%. I'm with him.
Okay.
You can buy an entire body.
I had a Mustang catalog. It was sitting here on. You remember the two ammo can looking things I had sitting here when you guys first started showing up? Sitting on top of that, I had a Mustang catalog that was 1.5 inches thick. It had everything from chassis, body kits, interior, motors, and I'm talking the stock motors, like the 289 and the.
Well, if it was 1.5 inches thick, does that mean it was lowered down?
from 2 inches.
Yeah. But it had parts for, the Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3.
Yeah.
All the way up to Fox bodies.
Yeah. No, I think you can find everything.
It'll be interesting. Well, and the biggest thing on this, for me, for the Mustang, why I want to do this one too, is we're talking crazy numbers. 100 grand in Jeremy's build. We're talking over 50 grand in yours right now, right? Mm-hmm. Mustangs, especially, let's say if I decide to go a crazy route, 429 Boss,
Sure.
whatever, clone, because people do make clone Mustangs.
Absolutely.
If that will be cheaper than buying an original one.
That would be interesting to note.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because, like, say if you buy a Boss 302 and you build it to almost factory spec or even cloning of it, and you're in it 130, let's say even 200 grand, you're getting a brand new Boss 302 and buying a one, like, from 1969 with 0 miles on it or close to that, you're going to spend like 200, 300, 400 grand because, again, low mileage car.
Right.
It's never driven.
Right. If you can find it.
If you can find it, yeah.
That would be interesting to look up. Like, even once mine's done, it's not a super rare car, but they are, Restomod collectible.
I wonder if
the old square body Novas, just to see what you can buy a good restored one for versus what I'm done.
I wonder if that's where this would actually make sense to build it for when you have those cars that are starting to become unobtainium. Like a 440 Hemi Cuda.
Yeah.
Where I've seen them sell, like, some of them at $700 to $1 million.
But you got to think those are original.
Yeah.
Low mileage or not, whatever, with all the matching numbers and the super rare spec of a car. That's what makes those so pricey.
Yeah.
Right? So you build one of these, maybe it costs you $200,000 to do it. It's not worth that.
Well,
it's a replica,
quote
unquote replica.
But let's say let's say that CUDA. Let's say a very nice one in the spec that you would want, which would be of the rare ones.
Right.
Let's say it's even 500 grand, 400 grand.
Okay.
If you can make a clone at the number and say you don't care about resale value, you just this is your end of life car you want to have. Does it make sense to go this way? Pay a shop to finish it and stuff.
Yeah. No, I see that. Yeah, if it's just a car that you want, and you don't, have the means to buy a real one, building a replica for half the price is sure.
It's kind of like the Ford GT. Not everyone can afford the $6 to $8 million or $18 million original Ford GTs that beat Le Mans.
That's why you
can go buy a super performance that is, 60% of the parts of the original GT can be used on that, and you buy it for, in total, you're in it 200 grand.
Right, and you just go out and enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you. No, I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for the update, guys. I am looking forward to Grant's Mustang.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. What?
We had,
just say.
talk about the other one. David.
No.
Okay.
No.
So I'll have to edit that. Thank you.
Yeah. We do have a listener that is working on it.
Yes. Working on it. He sent us a list, but it's undecipherable at the moment, so we're going to have to hash that out, and we'll bring that to you. Thanks, David, for sending that in. That's awesome. Can't wait to look at it.
And we're encouraging any of our other listeners to send in, participate in this.
Jimmy. Absolutely. I think Jimmy should do it.
Not just Jimmy, but...
No, yeah, I know. I'm just picking on him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks for tuning in. Hope that was entertaining for you. And remember to reach out to us on untitledcarproject@gmail.com or Messenger, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. Share the podcast with your friends.
If you or someone you know who would like to be a guest on the show, it's about cars or car projects, please email us and let us know.
If you've built a kit.
That is one thing I was going to say. We are very interested for anyone who has built a kit car from start to finish. We want to hear about your journey.
Or even start to halfway through. Exactly. I would love to talk to you about that. Like, that's an experience none of us, well, except Grant has tried, have taken on. And I would love to talk.
We'd love to have you in studio or have you over a phone call, and we'd love to talk about that.
100%. That would be really cool. And that's it for tonight. Thanks for tuning in to show 61, and we will see you next time.
Bye.